from the shadows of the National Palace.
Subscribe from the muddy trenches of politics. This is La Posilga, the pigsty of dirty politics.
How's it going, my little pigs, inhabitants of this pigsty called Mexico? Come on in, it's just a saying, of course, because here we never sweep. The filth is already part of the decor. Welcome to the pigsty, the pigpen of politics. The only corner of the internet where we don't wear masks to avoid the stench of national politics. Because here we're already immune to cynicism. You're greeted by your untrustworthy host, Louis Berman. Brace yourselves. Grab your favorite antacid, because today the feast of waste is heavy, and we're the ones who are going to pay the bill. As always, welcome once again to this place, where we don't put on perfume to talk to the pigs. Because here the mud reaches up to our necks and the smell of corruption feeds our souls. Come on in, make yourselves comfortable among the trash of political parties we have, and the remains of countless promises. Today the menu is loaded with the house specialty. Selective amnesia and high-viscosity finger-thick gruel. Let's begin. Do you remember that thing about how there's no more corruption, that privileges are over, and that the white handkerchief was cleaner than the conscience of a newborn? Well, it turns out the handkerchief wasn't made of silk. It was made of sandpaper, and they used it to sand down the public coffers until sparks started flying. The Superior Audit Office of the Federation, that agency that sometimes seems to work and other times seems to just sweep things under the rug, spilled the beans on the 2024 public accounts. And no, these aren't just some other numbers from a street vendor on a stage. It's the official figure from the last year of the holy transformation of none other than the donkey from Macuspana, Andrés Manuel López Obrador. The figure of neglect, no more and no less than 65 billion pesos that are out there on a spree. They went out to buy cigarettes and haven't come back. It's not an estimate. It's not something the press made up. It's the hole they left in the budget before handing over the keys to the apartment. That's how the 6-year term of savings turned out to cost us an arm and a leg. But wait, if 65 billion seems like a lot to you for just 1 year, the famous year of Hidalgo, which here they pulled off with a master's and a doctorate, hold on to your seat when you see the total for the 6-year term. The amount of money, just to clarify, that's the polite way of saying we don't know whose pocket it ended up in, comes to the modest and despicable sum of 417 billion pesos. Damn, 417 billion. With that, you could build 3 refineries, whether they actually refine, or at least something. You could buy medicine to supply hospitals, but no, that money is stuck in bureaucratic limbo. They say that most of it goes to states and municipalities because, you know, corruption gets federalized. But on the list of the forgetful ones, our crown jewels also appear. Pemex, the household's favorite bottomless barrel, and several federal agencies that completely ignored transparency. Ah, but that's why we have Presachachis, who's an expert in the art of downplaying the fire. Because faced with such a mess, what did Claudia Scheinbaum say? Well, she used the classic ancient technique of the 4T, minimize, relativize, and then, if possible, blame the past, even if the past is themselves. In her morning conference, with that smile like a retarded monkey, she says that nothing is happening here as long as she holds the staff of command. She came out to tell us there's nothing to get upset about, that these are just preliminary observations. Ah, what a relief, I almost had a heart attack. Because if the lady says it's preliminary, then surely the billions will show up under a rug in the National Palace tomorrow morning. Here's a summary of her masterclass in cynicism. Sorry, I mean clarification she gave us. Are you going to clarify things? Press Ineptus says that these amounts always go down when officials present the documentation, meaning the money is there. Did the officials just forget to ask for a receipt? Or did their tickets get wet in the rain? How careless are these guys? It's a long process. Basically, he told us to sit and wait, because clarifying where billions of pesos ended up takes time. The process is so long that by the time they're done clarifying, we'll already be in the next 6-year term and no one will care anymore. It's the exhaustion technique. They throw a number at you, tell you they'll explain later, and 3 years later you find out the file is classified for national security reasons. It's not corruption, it's just missing paperwork. This is my favorite one. According to Scheinbaum, it's not that they stole the money, it's just a lack of documentation. It's like if you come home without the car and tell your wife, "They didn't steal it from me, my love, and I didn't lose it in a bet either. I just have a preliminary administrative observation about the physical location of the vehicle." Brilliant, of course, he finished with the sacred mantra. In this government, corruption is not tolerated. It's curious because they don't tolerate it, but how does it show up in the audits? It's a strange love-hate relationship they have with other people's money. The report from the Superior Audit Office of the Federation. It's the financial epitaph of a 6-year term that was sold as the end of the era of privileges. But the numbers don't lie, even if the politicians have other data. Leaving 417 billion pesos up in the air is a lie the size of a cathedral, or an insult to the people of Mexico, however you want to interpret it. Political debate? There is debate, but the debate shouldn't be about whether they're going to clarify things or not. The debate should be, why do we keep allowing them to treat us as if we had collective mental retardation? They tell us these are administrative errors. Meanwhile, the debt grows, health services collapse, and security is a bad joke. But don't worry, keep watching the soap opera, keep applauding the promises that tomorrow will be dynasties. Because while you argue on social media, they keep losing invoices for amounts we wouldn't see even if we worked for 10 lifetimes. It's amazing that every time someone asks the well-being maid or another member of the Morena cartel for accountability, they change the subject. It's truly fascinating, almost worthy of a psychiatric study funded by CONACYT. Watching the mastery with which the lowlifes of the self-proclaimed fourth transformation handle the art of blame. They're geniuses, true Mozarts of the John of Will. If their rice burns, it's the fault of the neoliberal stove. If their train floods, is it because of conservative water? But there's a man, a totem, a figure they invoke with more fervor than the Virgin of Guadalupe on December 12th. Felipe Calderón Hinojosa. It's been 13 years since the Michoacan native left the presidential seat, but for the sect of well-being, it seems like he's still running things from Garcia Luna's bunker. He's the favorite villain, the boogeyman they use to scare the masses so they don't look at the mess they've got under the bed. Look, Calderón's real sin wasn't sending the army out into the streets. By the way, that was at the request of a party of the Democratic Revolution governor, a certain Lázaro Cárdenas Batel. That's a fact they conveniently forget in their morning sermons. No, the unforgivable sin, the affront that still bothers them, heartburn, nightmares, and a burning feeling in their behind was beating a professional sore loser in the 2006 elections. Since then, vote by vote, they dedicated themselves to building the narrative of the illegitimate one. Egged on by a leader who had no qualms about undermining trust in electoral institutions. The very same ones that later gave him the win. Life sure is strange, isn't it? They devoted themselves to spreading lies. That he was drunk, that he hesitated. Come on, we never saw him lose his composure. But the smear machine needed a drunk to justify its own electoral hangover. But this is where reality spits on the narrative, or where things take a sharp turn, because the cynicism reaches stratospheric levels. Because heaven forbid they blame the one who sat in the chair for the last 6 years. No, gentlemen. According to the logic of the official pigsty, those acts of corruption are also Calderón's fault. In fact, I think Calderón travels through time every night to steal money from the treasury, because the current government is all light and goodness. We're witnessing the passing of the blame, the predecessor who doesn't exist. The logical thing in any country with common sense is that when a government ends, the bill is handed to the one who just left. But in the kingdom of alternative facts, the laws of physics and logic don't apply. We are at a moment where López Obrador is already a predecessor, he's already the past, and the balance is, to say the least, a Greek tragedy with a cheap comedy script. shortage of medicines, but we have a huge empty pharmacy that looks beautiful from space. Measles. Yes, diseases have returned, illnesses that were already in the trunk of memories, and economic growth is so weak that it's already suffering from chronic anemia. Legal uncertainty, where the law is whatever the mood of the current ruler says. And whose fault is it that the administration destroyed the healthcare system, just to save a few bucks and put them into a train that moves at a snail's pace? Of course it's not still the fault of the neoliberal past. It's not Lopez Obrador's legacy. It's Calderón's shadow legacy, which keeps children from getting chemotherapy. It's incredible how far they stretch things. You come to power to solve problems, not to assign blame. The thing is, blaming the past is the refuge of the mediocre. If after more than 7 years of having all the power, all the budget, and the whole apparatus, the one to blame is still the one who left 13 years ago, then you're not a president. You're a useless piece that's just there, wearing the presidential sash. But that's how things are in this pigsty. My pigs. The villain of the story is still the same, while those in power now wash their hands with the dirty water of their own excuses. Well, my political pigs, there you have it. The pigsty is fuller than ever, and the hose of justice has no water. That's enough of wallowing in this filth. For today, I'm gonna take an acid bath to see if I can get rid of the water, the smell of demagoguery and cynicism, though I doubt it, because this is already stuck to our bones. I say goodbye, but I'm not leaving, because the filth never rests, and I have to be here to wallow in it and tell you about it. Don't forget to leave your like to share this video so that some public servant gets a bit of heartburn. And above all, don't let them pull the wool over your eyes, because they're charging you caviar prices for that cheap trick. Also, don't forget to keep licking your wounds and to give thanks, because even if you don't have medicine, they shoot at us just for going out to buy milk. Even though the basic food basket gets pricier each month, at least Calderón is gone. Stay in the shade, because the sun of transformation burns, and it burns a lot. This was La Posilga, the pigsty of politics. I'm Luis Berman. Goodbye.
This is La Posilga, the pigsty of politics with Louis Berman.